Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Conversations or Convos with Caregivers. I am Teraleen Campbell, known as the caregiver to caregivers, and I am very, very excited to bring back, I guess, another season, if you will, another round of enlightening conversations with some of my fellow caregivers. And so tonight I am super excited to bring to the stage one of my childhood, one of my homegirls from back in a kind of small town in Western Maryland called Hagerstown, Maryland. And I'm just super excited that she has agreed. Oops. She has agreed to join me tonight on this session. So let me bring her up to the stage. Let me do it like this. She is affectionately known as Lulu back from my hometown folks, but her given name is Malcolma Brown. Now, I want you to say your last name so that it's because I don't like to mispronounce anybody's name.
The last name is Ekiagu.
Ekiagu. Did I say that right?
You did well.
Ekiagu. Okay, I did well. I'll take that. Okay, I'll take that. So welcome. She is caring for her husband. And part of the purpose, I'll just say this, part of the purpose of these sessions, of these talks and these chats, if you will, is that I want to highlight and showcase or bring awareness to who caregivers are and what's the life of a caregiver. What does it entail? What does it involve? In a nutshell, I was saying to Malcolma Lulu that caregivers really are everyday people who have been entrusted with the lives of others in some form or fashion. There's not a cookie cutter way to say it, but in some form or fashion, there's a variety of ways that we've been entrusted with the lives of others, but we have been. And so we're here. And so with that in mind, she is a wife who is caring for her husband of now 20 years.
Yes.
That right? I remember you just recently celebrated your wedding anniversary. And so, we're going to talk about that. And I watched my uncle, my dearly beloved uncle Gandhi, care for my aunt, and just seeing that side of the caregiver's life is something special. So we're going to talk about that. And for her husband is dealing with a form of dementia, and I get more and more calls from caregivers and contacts from caregivers who are caring for loved ones who have dementia or Alzheimer's disease, and that any kind of a change to the life of a loved one, to the physical capability, the mental motor skills of a loved one, they impact those of us who love them. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But come on up, Lulu. Let's get to it. Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, prior to being a caregiver, I was working in corporate America. I moved to Atlanta roughly 20 years ago. Never thought I'd be here. Never wanted to be in Georgia, but here I am for such a time as this. I am a only child to my mother, but I am the eldest of six other siblings that I have that are in Nigeria. So when you look at finding your roots, I was finding my roots long before they found their roots. So I am the eldest daughter of a chief, and he actually was in Hagerstown as well. So that's where my life and story began, is right there at 245 North Johnson Street in Hagerstown. So all in all, I'm just Lulu.
Shout out to our Hagerstown peeps.
Absolutely.
And so, yes, and now you're in Atlanta. And so I didn't know. I missed the part about you being the daughter of a chief. Look at that. Look at God. Royalty.
Amen.
In the spirit and in the natural.
Amen.
And so Lulu, describe your life as it is now.
My
Give
life
us a
now
little bit of insight there.
it's a secluded life in a sense. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
all of the glitz and glamour that I would call it of living quote unquote your life day to day has changed for me.
Right.
Where there were many friends, they are few now. Uh, Everywhere I go, for the most part, he's there. My mornings, I start around 6 o'clock because
Okay.
I have to take care of myself to be able to take care of him. So
Right.
I spend about an hour to 2 hours, whatever it is I want to do. If I want to hear the birds sing, whatever it is I want to do, I do that. And then my day starts with bathing him, giving him a hot shave every day. From that, then we're doing medications because sometimes with caregiving, we think it's just everything but medicine. But when someone already has pre-existing conditions, you still have to continue to maintain whatever that regimen is for that person. So we do have that. Feeding. He has the behavioral variant of FTD, so there
Okay.
are behaviors that go with that. He may clap for an hour. It just my day is just it's like pulling like how did what did he say on Forrest Gump? Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get.
Never
My
know.
life is like a box of chocolates. I don't know until he wakes up as exactly what that day may look like for me.
Okay. And it's interesting that you mentioned about the secluded aspect, because a lot of people don't realize, I think, how I was just having a similar conversation with a fellow caregiver um last week, and we were talking about how the life of a caregiver, friends seem to, they don't go away, but they dissipate a bit. They disappear, I guess. Because the responsibilities are, they call for us to focus. So social life can uh it can it takes a hit, and so there are some things to be in, that we have to um accept as it relates to that, or to work on, or I'm not sure the right, if I'm saying it right, but yeah, I can identify, I'll say that we're here with that aspect of, yeah, that part of the journey.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, being able to find yourself, it's like you wake up one day and you wonder where is XYZ friend, and they've gone on with their lives, and I
Yeah.
sometimes I don't think that it's intentional,
Right.
but their life has continued as usual, and yours has become to them an unusual path because they may or may not be able to relate. And in my case, because he had what was considered younger onset dementia, so FTD, you can actually be diagnosed in your 20s. So
Mm,
this is not grandma's, she's 80 years old and she's forget. No, his memory was intact until I would say last year. And
okay.
that is that is where we're getting to what the doctors consider, the quote unquote final steps of that part of dementia where the memory itself kind of wanes away. So he was remembering everything up until then. So with this type of dementia, you're talking, young mothers have small children, they're working, and
Wow.
this is happening, or young fathers now having to take care of their wives. There are some in their 30s that are part of some chat groups that I've been a part of that have lost their spouses and they have small children. That's why I say children are now becoming a part of the caregiving community, and I try to find ways to speak to all of those who and advocate for those who are dealing with younger onset dementia because it really impacts a family, and it's a hard hit, like you said, a hard hit on a family.
It is. And I see, hey Anita, I see you say, yeah, social life sometimes doesn't exist when you become a caregiver. It does. It takes a hit. Um, Talk about FTD. Educate us on FTD specifically.
Okay. FTD is one of the dementias, just like Alzheimer's. Dementia is the umbrella.
Mm-hmm.
Alzheimer has a spoke in the umbrella, and FTD is one of those spokes as well.
Okay.
Now, FTD breaks out into different types. There's the behavioral variant. There are some that may have a variant where they can't speak. They lose their speech. Sometimes FTD can actually go in with Alzheimer's, and you can have both of them. That's a wonderful mix.
Wow.
You can have FTD and Alzheimer's. So it's a um, degenerative disease, and it affects the frontal lobes of the brain. So the executive skills is what you actually start to see initially. You
Okay.
know, as far as being able, for my husband example, he has a PhD in business.
Mm.
He taught economics at Jackson State University. At one point, he began to spend a lot of money. Someone that is penny pinching every day, all day, and now they're just blowing money. Those are just some signs that I started to see with him.
Mm.
The apathy went away. You tell him someone passed away or something happened, the apathy is gone. It doesn't phase him, or he may say something inappropriately. You may see someone and they may be on the heavier side, and he just said, "Do you see that fat lady? That's not who he was." But that part of the brain has deteriorated, so he doesn't have that part to tell them this is appropriate and this is inappropriate.
Mm.
So that is, in a nutshell, what FTD is. It's the frontal lobes of the brain are deteriorating.
And so that's one of the things that I'm finding. One of the things that I'm finding is that with an illness such as that, as you said, your husband was a professor, has a PhD,
Right.
and so there's not there's no boundaries, no educational, social boundary per se. You mentioned that you saw some behavior, some lack of empathy, concern. Are the educators? Are there any other signs that you saw and you thought to yourself, okay, something's not right medically versus he's just as the youth would say, wilding out.
Right. With FTD, it doesn't it presents itself differently in everyone, of course, as all
Okay.
the dementias do. However, for FTD, for the most part, talking to other caregivers and to other advocates, it is more of the shift in their behaviors, their everyday life. You may say that they are going through what some call midlife crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, they may go online and have sex online. I mean, just being real with it.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them may have uh, affairs with those who are online. They may go on a lot of the sex sites online. They may be sending money to people that they've never met, buying expensive paintings. Some have bought new cars. My husband bought me 4 cars in 4 years. Something in my mind should have said, something's not right. Every time we went for an oil change, it was like I was getting a new car, and they were getting bigger. We had an Odyssey, 2 Odysseys, and there's only 2 people. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh, he just wants something bigger for us. Oh, he wants another car. And
Wow.
and when he actually, because he's diabetic, he had an episode and had to go to the hospital. And he just asked if he could just walk around. And of course, nothing has been different the entire visit. We said, yes, that's fine. Well, when the doctor came in to go ahead and just let him go home, we couldn't find him.
Mm.
I was terrified. Where could he be in a hospital? Well, they eventually found him. And at that time, the doctor said, you need to get him checked.
Okay.
Okay, get him checked. And they I will say this with those who have been said to have a higher intellect. The doctors have said that they are very good at masking dementia.
Okay.
And sometimes when you find out it's, when they're further down the road than you would hope to, picked up on it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, how long ago was he officially diagnosed?
Officially diagnosed in 2016.
Okay.
Signs were there as early as 2014
Okay.
when you really sit back and think about it.
And so, talk about some adjustments that you made.
Initially, once we got the diagnosis, and that is a hard pill for a spouse or children to swallow because I had the kids there, and I felt everybody should get the information at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. So the only thing she said was, this is what he has. This is the life expectancy. Get your affairs in order.
Mm.
How do you swallow that pill? What does that mean, get my affairs in order? You know. So initially it was off running to an attorney, getting an elder care attorney to make sure that we get those things in order as far as finances, as far as wills, any trust, whatever you need to get, you have to get that done first. Try to get that done first. From there, I was going from doctor to doctor to make sure that they had me added for the HIPAA, protocols
Mm.
to make sure that I could get any information that I needed. My first year, I spent a lot of time on the phone or in someone's office
Okay.
while I worked in an office. So I ran a rat race the first year, trying to put those things in place.
Okay. At what point did you decide that you needed to stop working to care for your husband?
I was paying someone to come 3 times a week, and she would only stay an hour. And he was able to care for himself for the most part, as far as feed himself and stay at home. And I had cameras here to protect her as well as to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
And one day she was leaving and he was crying. I'd never seen him cry. He was crying and begging her to please don't leave him. I told my manager I needed to go home. And it didn't matter whether she said yes or no, I was going home.
Right.
And I got home and I said, "Are you okay?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well," he said, "Don't leave me." And I was already having some health challenges myself because, of course, caring for someone else, sometimes you drop the ball on yourself.
Yeah.
So I was having some challenges, and the doctor just felt it was best that I needed to step out so that I'd be able to care for myself and him. And I just stayed. I asked him, "You want me to go back to work? You want me to um, get someone else to come in?" And he continued to just say no. He said, "I just want you. I just want you."
Mm.
And I thought about my vows at that point, in sickness and in health. So we're at the sickness point. I need to do whatever I need to do to make sure that he's cared for.
My God. And that's a perfect segue. I wanted to ask you about, of course, when most people, so many people take the vows and of marriage, and you say that in sickness and in health, you have no idea what that is going to entail at some point. How did talk about that? I'll just leave it open ended there.
Your wedding day, all the bliss, the glitz and the glamour and the accolades and all of those things. And when you're saying those vows, I wonder how many of us, honestly, are really thinking about what we're saying when we're saying them. The part about in sickness and in health, that right there, we could just put a pin right there. That one, you think, oh, if they have the flu or maybe they have to have surgery, we don't go. We know what it looks like when we have and don't have in our community. We know what that can look like. But that in
Mhm.
sickness and in health, we never think that earlier in your marriage or earlier in their life, they could have something like FTD. And that could be the remainder of your marriage is caring for that person. Um, you really have to dig deep and you have to pull out whatever it is that makes you strong. If it's your Bible, if it's, talking to a counselor, because I did talk to a counselor as well. I just wanted to get out what was inside of me
Right.
and find the best way that I could be the best wife, because I told God that I would, and He know me. He knew I didn't want to do it sometimes, but I knew that He brought me through some other things, and I knew that I could do this. So
He knew. He knew. Amen. When you said that God knew, I could say, in caring for my mom, I felt similar. Like, okay, God, you knew, but I know, sometimes it's like, I know you know, and I know you know all things, but sometimes I wish you wouldn't have trusted me so much. Like, real talk, Lulu. Like, it's like, this is a bit much.
I asked Him, "Did you blink?"
Right, God. You mean me?
Whew. There are some days that I, I don't know if you can see like the little plants behind me. I had to start growing things
Right.
to have an outlet on releasing stress.
Mm,
So I just start growing flowers. I spend time in the yard, because some days when he's up and I ask him, let me have your shirt, and he'll say, "This one," and I'll say yes, and he's still sitting there, and I'm like, "Okay, we got a doctor's appointment. We got to get there, and we're doing this one. Today is not that day." So you have to find something to help you to release that stress. And sometimes I'm like, "Okay, Lord, really? We're gonna do this today?" And sometimes he'll answer for God. He said, "Mm-hmm."
your husband?
I'll say, "Okay, Lord, we're gonna do this today," and he'll say, "Mm-hmm." I said, "All right then." Yeah.
And so, with, well, let me ask this. You talked about the plants, and you talked about you have to find something. What is it? Well, how do you personally, because I believe that I like these convos as well, because I believe it helps, it's not just Teraleen giving the answers, but it helps, others, and iron sharpens iron.
Right.
How do you hold on? What what are some tools? You mentioned gardening. Any other tools that you would share, um, to help Lulu to hold on?
I use music a lot. Music is good for those with dementia as well. So I
Okay.
use music a lot. I decided to get me an Echo, and I have everything from Betty Wright, Johnny Taylor. I don't care who it is. Everything that I ever thought about that I liked in music, in the music world, gospel. I have a mixture, about 6 hours of music. And there are days that that's all we do. We don't turn the TV on. We just do music here. um, the plants are something that, again, I started to do. I was at one point a part of, it was a free meditation group. That
Hmm.
was good to be able to, and it was only 15 minutes. It wasn't long, because caregiving, you don't have a lot of time to
Right.
do the things that you used to do. So you have to be able to find things that are short but impactful. So I would do that. I spend a lot of time just reading. I have different books that I read. I have like 3 books that I read at the same time. Okay, today is this book. Tomorrow it may be another book. Um, I try to do new things. Try to find something that I haven't done, and try to do that. Um, Exercise, I'm working on that inside of the house. Even though cutting my own grass, a lot of things I do for myself now.
Okay. As it relates to, we talked about this for a moment before. You mentioned this before we came on live. Um, about back to honoring your vows, about, when the thought crossed your mind to separate, but God said differently.
Yeah. The behaviors had gotten to a point, when I say behaviors, I mean he wasn't terrible, but my husband is what I always say, he's easy like Sunday morning. He's very laid back, soft spoken. He has never told me no. In all the years that we've been together, he's never said no to me. If I wanted something, he said okay. But the spending, and he's never been a drinker, but he started to have drinks, and it wasn't a lot, but it was just different.
Okay.
Um, and then he was talking, because remember, we have families. His family is in Nigeria. He's from Nigeria. My family is here and in Nigeria. So the families, when you get married in Nigeria, you marry the entire family. It's a lot different than here. So the families were starting to have problems because he was telling his family that I was living in his homes. We had S on their homes. I was driving his cars. We only had one house, one car. I was spending his money, and there were problems. So I said, the best thing I can do, my father called, the family had come to him. My father said, you need to leave him. Leave him. And his family was saying, I want you to take your daughter back. Okay, so they wanted me to go.
Mm.
And I had talked to a friend and I said, can you find me a lawyer? Because I'm done. I can't do this. I'm done. And I calmed myself down and I got quiet. Sometimes we're in such a noisy place that we can't hear God. He's waiting on us to stop doing what we're doing so he can do what he do. And I got quiet and just really wanted to think about it. And God said, don't leave.
Mm.
Don't leave. And I told my father, I'm not leaving. He said I was crazy. I told my sister, don't leave. And she watched me, even though she's passed now. She told me before she passed, she said, sis, you've shown me what a wife should look like.
Mm.
And it just broke me inside because that's not who I wanted to be initially. I wanted to go. And because I was obedient, I was able to help someone else unknowingly. So,
Wow. What does I ask this question to almost every caregiver that I interview. What does self-care look like to you at this point in your life?
self care for me is not only the physical side of taking care of myself, but mentally. Because we'll carry a lot of things around inside our head. Our schedules are inside of our head. So for me, like I said, I get up about 6 o'clock in the morning. I listen to Sirius XM 126, hear what Joe Madison's talking about, laugh when I can laugh. I may have a cup of coffee, read a book, go outside, hear the birds. Whatever comes on my mind that morning after I talk to God, that's what I do. I don't make a schedule because then it's like a routine, and I have enough routines in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I just look at it as what do I want to do today for myself, and I end the day that way.
Okay.
Once he's in bed, I find something on TV that I want to watch, and I'll do that just so that I can wind down and see a little bit of myself every day.
Okay. Excellent. My last question. What well, two parts. I'll ask part one first. What would you say to other spouses, partners, significant others who are caring for loved ones? Do you have any tips, any words of encouragement, um, from one caregiver to another?
What I would say is don't look at it as a chore. When I bathe him as this is exercise for me. I'm doing my bending, I'm moving, I'm
Mm,
doing something for myself. That's how I look at everything I do. I do it with the mindset that I'm helping myself.
okay.
That helps to remove him. Also, I would say if they don't want to take a bath, don't fight it. It's okay. The world didn't come to an end. If they don't want to brush their teeth that day, don't get your blood pressure up over that. Their teeth won't fall out. We'll try it again tomorrow. And if it doesn't work tomorrow, we'll just come up with some very different ways of possibly getting them to do what you want them to do. But don't stress yourself. You have enough on your lap, in your pockets, on your shoulders as caring for them. Don't add anything that doesn't need to be there.
Okay. That was some good wisdom. What resonated with me is, you said the world won't end tomorrow if they don't brush their teeth.
No,
Like,
no,
don't fight it.
no.
Okay. And what would you say to caregivers in general? Any words of wisdom, of encouragement to caregivers in general?
I would also like to say there are several groups that's right on Facebook that are secure. No one knows what you're saying other than them. And trust me, they unload, so don't feel bad about unloading. You can get answers and help. Don't live in a bubble by yourself. Don't feel like it's just you because it's not. Even when you think it's just you, it's not. Go out there, find other people who are having like situations and share your story with them. The only way we're going to be able to help each other is to talk about what we don't want to talk about. We can't keep it to ourselves. And know as a caregiver, you're doing a great job.
Yeah.
You know the song Encourage Yourself when she says, sometimes
You
you
better sing.
have to encourage yourself. You have to do that. And sometimes I sing that song to myself. I have to encourage myself because you got enough negative things pulling at you. Think of something that you did good today. You know, polish your nails if you're a nail person. Get your hair done if you enjoy having hairstyles. And me, I cut it off. I don't. I played ball. I was a little tomboy, so don't have very much hair. But whatever that thing is that you enjoy doing, don't lose yourself in the midst of
Mm,
caring for someone else.
don't lose yourself in the midst of it.
Yes.
Yeah. Is there a specific, well, a favorite? Because I'm sure there's not just one, but is there a favorite scripture that comes immediately to mind that helps you when you're feeling, when, we talked about earlier, like the spiritual battles and when the devil is just bringing all kinds of thoughts to your head? Is there one that's in your arsenal that you utilize to just fight back?
I just continue to think about, even though John 3:16 may seem like a simple verse, but it's about love. That verse talks
Mm,
about agape love, the love that goes beyond. And that speaks to me, that he gave his son, he gave what he had for us. He loved us so much. And I have to remind myself that I need to give all I have to my husband because I love him just that much. So that is what I look at when I look at John 3:16 and it talks about the love of God and his giving. I think about it that way. My Ibu name that my father gave me is Chinery. And Chinery means a gift from God.
gift from
So
God.
I look at it as I'm his gift. And I need to continue to give myself to him, knowing that if it was him, he would do it for me.
Mm. Perspective is often so important. So yeah. Um, okay, and I see Sister Vanessa said that when her parents would exhibit behaviors that would get the best of her, she used to say to herself, remember, it's the disease and not the person. And she said that would help her to get focused again on her purpose. Thank you for that, Vanessa. Thank you so much for sharing that. Yeah, yeah. And speaking of groups, I forgot to say this in the beginning. But let me also pause and say, if this session has this segment has been has been a blessing to you, please share it on your individual respective Facebook pages. If you're watching via Facebook Live, it also is on Lulu's page as well as mine. But I also have a group for caregivers called Caregivers Connect, and so I definitely want to invite anyone who is a caregiver to join us in the Caregivers Connect group. I will post the link to the group in the chat as well, and you are certainly welcome to join us there. There is safe space. I believe that it is very much needed for there to be safe space for caregivers. I mean, as Lulu, you mentioned, sometimes you have to vent, and it doesn't mean you don't love the person, doesn't mean you love them any less, doesn't mean you're not committed to them. But sometimes, as in any life situation, we just need to just let it out and maybe talk to somebody else, regain some perspective, regain our composure. You know, talk to Jesus and somebody else, and
Yes.
then be able to come back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If I could say something, Teraleen,
Yes.
um, I'm a part of I'm on several different boards, but I am an advisor on this group, and it's specifically for the African American community. It's called Alter Dementia.
Mm-hmm.
What we're doing is we are connecting with churches so they could become a safe place for those who have dementia and caregivers. So they would know how to interact with them. Having a shorter service, maybe having a cafe, a dementia friendly cafe where those with dementia can come together. So we are here, there, and everywhere, and you'll see information on my page. I usually try to share things on my page about that. There's a newsletter that goes out. I'll be happy to share that with you, Teraleen, as well. Um,
Please, I like what you said, some type of a cafe.
Right. Well, the church, if they choose to, they can set up a dementia cafe where caregivers and those with dementia, it would be just for them to come in and maybe have something to drink, something to eat, just so that they can get out and feel like they're a part of the community. The services, I've done some of the focus groups for the service where the service is maybe about 15 minutes, 20 minutes long, because again, those with dementia don't have the same type of um, how do I put their frame of mind as far as the time span for them is a lot different than ours. When we're looking at going to church for 2 hours, they feel like they've been there all day. So then you'll see them acting out. But the services are catered towards those with some churches do their services where they're catered towards those with dementia. They may have a Sunday for caregivers, have a caregiver Sunday for them to. We are partnering with, we have about 28 churches right now that are partnered throughout the United States, and we're continuing to grow. And there are different toolkits that we've put together. There's a lot that we have, but you can go to ALTER dementia, DEMENTIA.com, and you can see all that information that Dr. Fayron Epps is spearheading with her team.
You said alter dementia.com.
Yes.
Okay, I typed that in the chat. That is awesome. That's awesome and very enlightening. When you think of still trying to keep them, give them some sense of normalcy and activity, and
Yes.
altering certain events. Yeah, that's good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Like resources, I like that.
Yes.
Okay. I want you to have the parting words, my sister.
What I would like to say to all the caregivers is if you need help, let someone know that you need the help. We're all in this together. You're not alone. And there are different grants that are out there that can help you. You just have to reach out and say, I need some help, or I want to take a respite break because you need that break. You need respite. And there are grants that are available to pay someone or pay for a facility to take care of your loved one so that you can take care of yourself. Please take advantage of it. And I love y'all.
We love you too. Thank you, thank you, thank you. This was wonderfully
Welcome.
just rich. Thank you for brave being able to get on. I know you had some. You said you have some storms down in Georgia, but I so appreciate you and your time. And yeah, everyone, um, thank you again for watching, and we will be back next month will be a care for the caregiver session. And so more to come on that. Let's stay connected either via my social media if you're watching there, or my website. I've got my web address down here. If you'd like to join my mailing list, please contact me and we can get you on that just to stay plugged in. If you'd like to join the Caregivers Connect group, I have put those links there. If you like to research altered dementia, I've put that link that Lulu provided in the chat as well. So, yes, with that, I will sign off and say, everyone, have a wonderfully blessed evening. Peace out.
Bye.